There are three silent truths life teaches us, not through books, not through words, but through fire. Endure, accept, transcend. To endure is to remain unshaken when the storm rises. Life will not ask your permission before it hurls pain at you. It will not warn you before betrayal comes, before death knocks, before time steals what you love. But the task is not to plead with life to be easier. The task is to become stronger. Endurance is not passivity. It is quiet strength. It is the soul's refusal to kneel before chaos. A mind trained to endure understands that suffering is not a punishment but a furnace. In that furnace, character is tempered. One does not become wise in comfort. One becomes wise when there is every reason to despair, but the soul says, I remain. Then there is acceptance, the companion of endurance. Acceptance is not surrender. It is not weakness, it is clarity. When you accept what you cannot change, you stop wasting energy fighting ghosts. The world will spin as it pleases. People will act as they choose. Fate will unfold its own way. You are not here to command the winds. You are here to set your sail. Acceptance is the art of stepping out of illusion, to see life as it truly is, without resistance, without complaint. To say to the moment, I see you, and in doing so, free yourself from the chains of expectation. You stop demanding that life be fair and begin focusing on what you can control, your thoughts, your judgments, your actions. And finally, transcend. What does it mean to transcend? It means to rise above the immediate, to live from a place higher than impulse, fear, and ego. Transcendence is born when you've endured the pain, accepted reality, and chosen not to be broken by either. It is not the erasure of hardship, it is your power over it. To transcend is to walk through fire and come out made of flame. It is to lose and yet remain undefeated. It is to suffer and yet not be bitter. It is to love this brief, imperfect life deeply, not because it is easy, but because it is real. No one can promise you comfort. No one can promise you peace from the world. But you can promise yourself this: I will endure what I must. I will accept what is. I will transcend what was meant to break me. And that, quietly, unshakably, is freedom. To endure is to face discomfort without complaint, to stand in the presence of adversity without surrendering to despair. It is not about suffering in silence for the sake of appearing strong, nor is it about denying the weight of life's trials. Endurance, in its highest form, is a conscious decision to remain unmoved by what lies beyond your control. It is the soul's defiant choice to persist, to remain rooted when everything else feels like it's being swept away. Life, by its nature, is unpredictable. Circumstances shift, relationships fracture, time erodes what once seemed permanent. In the face of this constant flux, endurance becomes not just a skill, but a necessity. It is the difference between breaking under pressure and being shaped by it. Most people confuse endurance with resignation. They think to endure is to do nothing, to merely suffer through. But this misunderstanding leads to stagnation, not strength. Endurance is deeply active. It involves attention, discipline, and inner resolve. It means bearing difficulty with a calm mind, holding your principles steady in the storm, refusing to be pulled into emotional chaos when events spiral beyond your reach. The world does not wait for your readiness. The moments that test you most will not come with warning signs. You will be called to endure at the very point when you feel weakest, when the path ahead is unclear and your spirit is worn thin. And yet it is precisely in these moments that endurance reveals its true power, not in grand gestures, but in quiet refusal to collapse. Endurance is also about perspective. It requires seeing pain not as a punishment, but as a forge. Fire does not destroy metal. It refines it. Likewise, challenges do not erase your strength. They reveal it. The person who endures is one who understands that pain is part of life, and that running from it only makes it harder to. There is a kind of wisdom in sitting with discomfort, in letting it do its work without panic or resistance. When you train yourself to stay calm when things go wrong, you become dangerous to chaos. You become a person who cannot be easily shaken, who does not fall apart when reality refuses to meet expectations. A Stoic view of endurance places emphasis on internal sovereignty. You cannot control the behavior of others, the unfolding of events, or the hand fate deals you. But you can control how you meet those conditions. You can meet them with a clenched fist and a restless heart, or with a composed gaze and a steady breath. The more you practice enduring small discomforts, the more prepared you become for the greater ones. Discipline in small matters prepares the mind for the great trials. It teaches you to step back, to pause before reacting, to choose response over impulse. This strength is not flashy. It does not need to be noticed. It grows quietly like roots beneath the earth, invisible but unshakable. In a world obsessed with ease and instant relief, endurance is rare. We are conditioned to escape discomfort, to numb pain with distraction, to seek shortcuts through every challenge. But the Stoic does not run. The Stoic does not flinch. There is a dignity in bearing hardship well, in knowing that you did not let suffering twist your character. Endurance means keeping your integrity intact when life attempts to strip it away. It means waking up each day and choosing once again to stand firm regardless of how heavy the burden has become. Pain is not punishment, it is preparation. It comes to every person not as a sign of failure, but as a signal that something within must be forged, tempered, or awakened. When pain arrives, the mind often searches for blame or escape, questioning why it must suffer or how quickly the discomfort can be removed. But those who walk the path of wisdom see pain differently. They see it as a teacher cloaked in difficulty. They understand that no transformation occurs without pressure, no growth without friction, and no inner evolution without being tested. The one who suffers without reflection is merely wounded, but the one who reflects within suffering is being prepared. In the Stoic tradition, pain is not seen as inherently evil. What matters more than the pain itself is the judgment we attach to it. A broken bone is pain in the body, but fear, anxiety, resentment, these are pains of the mind, created not by events but by how we interpret them. When you separate what has happened from what you think about what has happened, you gain clarity. Pain simply is. It does not hate you. It does not seek revenge. It is not the universe conspiring against you. It is a condition, a force, a moment in the unfolding of life. And like all moments, it will pass, leaving behind either a stronger version of you or a more bitter one, depending on how you chose to engage with it. Preparation through pain is a process of stripping away illusion. It removes the layers of entitlement, ego, and expectation. It shows you what truly matters and what was merely comfort dressed as necessity. When life is comfortable, the mind often drifts toward complacency. We grow soft in ease, distracted by trivial things. Pain brings focus. It narrows the field of vision to what is essential. It reminds us of our mortality, of our fragility, and in that reminder, invites us to live with greater depth. It does not flatter us. It confronts us. It forces a decision. Will you resist and remain the same, or will you open to it and emerge changed? Pain prepares the soul by exposing what is weak. If a structure collapses under pressure, it reveals a flaw in the design, so it is with character. If hardship breaks you, it was not the hardship. It was what already lacks strength within. Pain reveals the cracks not to shame you, but so you can repair them. Every difficult moment is a mirror reflecting who you truly are, not who you pretend to be when life is easy. And in seeing this reflection clearly, there is an opportunity, an invitation to build something better, stronger, and more enduring within. The disciplined mind welcomes discomfort as part of the path, not because it enjoys suffering, but because it understands its necessity. Just as the athlete welcomes strain in training to perform better in competition, the Stoic welcomes life's hardships as training for the soul. Pain is the sharpening stone on which virtue is honed. Courage, patience, humility, wisdom. These are not born from ease. They are the children of adversity, cultivated in moments when giving up would be easier, but endurance was chosen instead. To prepare is not to live in fear of pain, but to be ready for it. It is to strengthen the mind daily through reflection, discipline, and self-awareness so that when pain arrives, it does not find you unarmed. Preparation means understanding that the world is not obligated to please you, that life will unfold according to its nature, not your preferences. When you accept this, pain becomes less of a shock and more of a signal. It tells you something is changing, something is moving within you that needs attention. Acceptance is the quiet act of powerfully stepping into reality. It is the refusal to argue with what already is. So much of human suffering is not caused by events themselves, but by the resistance we build against them. The mind clings to expectations, to imagined outcomes, to how life should be, and when reality does not match those expectations, we experience frustration, grief, and bitterness. But reality does not bend to our desires. It is impartial, unmoved, and ever-flowing. To accept is not to approve, and it is not to like what has happened. It is simply to acknowledge the truth without distortion or self-deception. In doing so, you remove the friction that comes from denial. The Stoic understands that peace is not found in control but in alignment. There are things we can influence, our choices, our reactions, our values, and there are things we cannot fate, the past, the thoughts and behaviors of others. Acceptance means drawing this line with clarity and living within it. The person who accepts reality is not indifferent. They are intentional. They do not waste energy shouting at the sky or begging the wind to change direction. Instead, they set their sail. They take the moment as it comes and choose the most honorable response available to them. There is a deep strength in this approach. The one who accepts reality as it is, without complaint, possesses a serenity that cannot be easily disturbed. They are not constantly pulled into drama or resistance. They know that emotions will rise and fall like waves, but the truth of what is remains steady. Acceptance is not cold detachment. It is clarity guided by discipline. It is looking at what has happened and saying, "This is the truth. I will not turn away. I will meet it." And from that meeting, the possibility of wise action is born. When you stop pretending that something isn't happening or hoping that it will magically reverse itself, you begin to reclaim your power. The refusal to accept leads to stagnation. The person who insists that life must go according to their plans finds themselves in constant conflict with the nature of things. Time moves forward, people change. Losses occur. The weather shifts. To resist these things is to fight the tides of a vast ocean with a cup in your hand. There is no victory in that struggle, only exhaustion. But the one who accepts learns to flow. They do not fight the current, they navigate it. They do not scream at the mountain, they climb it or walk around. You do it by returning again and again to your principles, even when every emotion screams at you to abandon them. Over time, you become less reactive. You stop needing the world to be perfect in order to feel at peace. You begin to rely on your own discipline rather than on circumstances for your sense of stability. When you give up the illusion of controlling others and events, you gain something far more valuable: consistency of character. You are no longer pulled in every direction by the opinions and actions of others. You are no longer at the mercy of outcomes. You become centered. The world can rise and fall. Fortunes can be gained and lost, but you remain guided by reason, anchored by your own values. There is immense power in that stillness. It allows you to move through life, not as a victim of its chaos, but as a steady force within it. To transcend is to rise above the immediate, to look beyond the surface of experience and respond not from instinct or emotion, but from principle and clarity. Transcendence does not mean escaping life or becoming detached from it in a cold or uncaring way. It means living in the world without being ruled by it. It is the movement of the soul from reaction to response, from chaos to calm, from victimhood to mastery. To transcend is not to pretend suffering doesn't exist, but to refuse to let it define you. It is the point where pain and hardship no longer dictate your behavior, where your inner compass remains steady even when the ground beneath you shifts. Transcendence is earned. It is the result of what comes before it, of endurance, of acceptance, of self-examination. It is the product of facing reality as it is and still choosing to live with virtue. The one who transcends is not the one who avoids hardship, but the one who meets it with understanding. When pain is seen as preparation and acceptance becomes a habit of the mind, then transcendence becomes possible. You are no longer driven by the need to control or to avoid discomfort. You begin to rise above those instincts and live in alignment with something higher than circumstance. The process of transcendence is not sudden. It unfolds in quiet moments when you choose not to react in anger, when you remain calm under pressure, when you forgive instead of retaliate, when you hold to your principles in the face of temptation or These small acts build a foundation of inner strength. Over time, the noise of the world begins to lose its power over you. The opinions of others, the sting of failure, the pull of ego, all begin to feel lighter, not because they disappear, but because you no longer carry them in the same way. You become more aware of the space between stimulus and response, and in that space you find freedom. To transcend is to live by reason rather than reflex. It is to ask, not what do I feel like doing in this moment, but what is the right thing to do regardless of how I feel. This shift requires discipline. The world rewards impulsiveness with attention, but inner peace is a reward for those who practice restraint. The transcendent individual is not swayed by pleasure or pain. They enjoy pleasure but are not enslaved by it. They experience pain but are not destroyed by it. They carry both with the same steady hand, understanding that neither is permanent and neither defines their worth. This kind of detachment is not indifference. It is full engagement with life, but from a place of wisdom. When you transcend, you still feel emotion. You still experience joy and sorrow, but you are not governed by them. You remain grounded in a deeper sense of purpose. Life's highs and lows no longer toss you about like a boat in a storm. You become the one who navigates the storm with a steady helm. The noise of the crowd may be loud. The chaos of events may surround you, but your inner world remains ordered, thoughtful, and calm. The act of rising above does not mean looking down on others or denying the reality of struggle. It means you carry struggle differently. You meet hardship with stillness, not panic. You face injustice with courage, not vengeance. You speak with truth even when silence would be easier. These are the signs of a mind that has transcended the ordinary patterns of reaction. It is not above pain, but it has placed pain in its rightful place. It is not beyond the world, but it is no longer ruled by the world. This is not the absence of difficulty. It is the presence of strength formed by facing difficulty without losing oneself. True freedom is not the ability to do whatever you want whenever you want. It is not found in the removal of limits or in the absence of responsibility. It is found in the ability to govern yourself regardless of circumstance. It is the strength to choose principle over impulse, wisdom over instinct, discipline over indulgence. The free person is not the one who avoids hardship, but the one who meets it without surrendering their values. They live in a world of shifting opinions, unpredictable events, and constant temptations, yet they remain consistent. Their actions are not determined by mood, pressure, or popularity, but by reasoned judgment and inner integrity. The Stoic understanding of freedom is radical because it does not depend on external factors. A person in chains can be freer than a person on a throne if they have mastery over their own mind. Freedom, in this view, is not about changing the world, but about not being enslaved by it. It is the refusal to be ruled by anger, fear, greed, or the opinions of others. This kind of freedom is earned through constant inner work. It requires a mind that questions itself, watches its own motives, and challenges its own assumptions. It is not something granted from the outside. It is built from within, moment by moment, choice by choice. When a person lives by emotion, they become a puppet to their environment. If someone praises them, they feel worthy. If someone insults them, they feel broken. If life goes well, they are joyful. If life disappoints, they are devastated. Their identity rises and falls with every shift in external conditions. But when a person lives by principle, they become steady. They are no longer moved by the whims of others or by the unpredictable winds of fortune. They have rooted themselves in something deeper than approval or comfort. They have chosen to be the same in victory and in loss, in abundance and in lack. This stability of character is not passive. It takes immense strength to resist the pull of reactive behavior. When provoked, the easy response is to lash out. When hurt, the natural urge is to seek revenge. When faced with failure, the temptation is to despair. But the person who has trained themselves to live by principle responds differently. They pause, reflect, and ask what the right thing is. Not the easiest, not the most satisfying in the moment, but the action that aligns with reason and virtue. This choice, repeated over time, forms a habit of freedom. The chains of emotion begin to loosen. The grip of ego begins to weaken. Living by principle also means accepting responsibility for your own mind. It means not blaming others for your reactions. It means recognizing that while you cannot control what happens to you, you can always control how you interpret it and how you respond. And this shift in focus from what is outside to what is within is the beginning of inner sovereignty. It is the recognition that power lies not in domination of others, but in the mastery of self. Such a person becomes a quiet force. They do not boast, they do not need to be seen, but their presence is felt. Their calm is not apathy, but clarity. Their silence is not weakness, but restraint. They act not to impress, but because it is right. And because they are no longer driven by the need to please, to retaliate, or to win, they are no longer vulnerable to manipulation. They are truly free. Not because life is easy, but because they are no longer bound by every twist of fate or turn of fortune. They have built a life that is guided not by reaction but by purpose, not by emotion but by reason, not by force but by inner alignment. So let these truths guide you. Endure, because life will test you in ways you never asked for. Stand any. Accept, because resistance to what is only multiplies suffering. See clearly. Transcend, because you are not what happens to you. You are what you choose to become through it. Do not chase comfort, for it weakens the will. Do not seek control, for it slips through your fingers. Instead, build yourself from the inside out. Be still when the world is loud. Be firm when the ground shakes. Be clear when others are confused. This is the path. Quiet, disciplined, resolute, not the easy road but the true one. Endure, accept, transcend.